1915 by James Oppenheim. Read for LibriVox.org by Alan Mapstone. Hang the hills with black, and blacken the early violets with the blood of the young. What want we with a spring of fragrant farmlands, gardens, smokes of the brush, and healing rains? Let the birds, the wind, and the sea sing no more the loves of mating and the marriage chants of spring, but mournfully pipe dirges of broadcast tragic death. What want we with the spring? We have cast in roaring foundries the dark-bored steel, and like gods have snatched the chemical might of the earth, and devised a killing and a crime. Out of the murder of our hearts we have wrought great havoc, sinking of ships at sea, and the toppling of cities, and the mowing of living hosts. What want we with the spring? Patiently the millions wrought, with sacrificial hands and suffering vision. Chaos became a city, a ship, a school. Up was lifted the child, and the young mind scrutinized that not a life might be lost. How to unfold these buds, how to grow these possibilities? Steadily the gates of pain were battered, and the gates of darkness assailed, and the waste of the spirit striven with. And the young went forth crying, Spring, spring, hope dawns, a glory. We are shaping a marvel in the skies. Man becomes God. This is the morning and the first day of creation. Spring, the hosts contend together. Cities are become dust heaps. The young God, the Creator, has turned fury and fiend, the destroyer. Strange sowing of seed goes on. This is the year when we sow the earth with the flesh of the young men. Black, black, black. We have blasted away in a day our own children, our own creation. We have gone mad killing the young, slaying the hope of the world. Now youth leaves his dream and his toil and his quickening love to kill or to die. O short-lived generation, debauch of blood, folly and sin. No more of it. Take away spring and give over the planet to a moon's death. A frozen death. Our earth deserves extinction with her rotten breed of men. So I cried, and in rage and grief went forth through the city, the new world city of peace. I passed a prison, broken men decayed in the damp. I passed a mill. Children and pale women peered wistfully from the windows. I passed a hospital, human wreckage sunned there beside the morgue. I walked through stinking slums, children nosed in the garbage. Then I went to the home of a friend and found darkness. Husband and wife were slowly slaying each other, slaying with love. The woman whispered to me, God, could I go to war and be killed? Then I looked in my own breast, and I said, What war is this I am bitter against? Behold, the lyddite of my soul that destroys peace about me. Behold, the bayonet of my hate, the shrapnel of my bestiality. The contending armies of lust and shames and intrigues, the sentries of dark sins, the spies of despisal. In this little world of self I saw the big. In my own breast I found war and disaster and ship sinking, the death of faith and hope. Behold, in myself I found man, who since the beginning has been this advancing conflict, ever thus. Then is it marvel no peace is on earth? Where is the man of peace? Shall I be crushed then by the obvious horror of blood and carrion, by wholesale carnage? Dark in the world of darkness I left the city, and then I saw, O ancient and new miracle! Resistless, laughing at death, overruling decay, earth silently lifted life. Impassive and calm lay the heaps of the hills, and steadily rising, green pierced through, the soil steamed and the birds nested. There was the farm boy ploughing, and there the young wife airing the house, and close to the handled mud the absorbed faces of children. Lo, thought I, earth holds to her hope. Then I greeted the hills. Oh, let them be mantled with green, I said, and let beauty hang from the boughs. Increase the laughter of children, string the cities with colour and glory, lift a music. Once were the heavens a blackness, then blazed the sun forth. In the earth's blackness, O tragic struggler, roll forth your splendid sun, fight darkness with light, destruction with creation. Have cities toppled and ships been sunk? Build, build. Is youth slain? Beget new children of flesh and toil. Beget a new self of splendour. Have hopes died? Kindle new ones. Has man fallen? You, man, arise. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Addressed to a Child During a Boisterous Winter Evening by Dorothy Wordsworth. Read for LibriVox.org by Constandina Sharpe. What way does the wind come? What way does he go? He rides over the water and over the snow, through wood and through vale, and o'er rocky height, which the goat cannot climb, takes his sounding flight. He tosses about in every bare tree, as if you look up, you plainly may see. But how will he come, and whither he goes, then never a scholar in England knows. He will suddenly stop in a cunning nook, and ring a sharp "the-rum." But if you should look, there's nothing to see but a cushion of snow, round as a pillow, and whiter than milk, and softer than if it were covered with silk. Sometimes he'll hide in the cave of a rock, then whistle as shrill as the buzzard cock. Yet seek him, and what shall you find in that place? Nothing but silence and empty space, save in a corner a heap of dry leaves that is left for a bed to beggars or thieves. As soon as 'tis daylight tomorrow, with me you shall go to the orchard, and then you will see that he has been there and made a great rout, and cracked the branches and strewn them about. Heaven grant that he spare but that one upright twig that looked up at the sky, so proud and big, all last summer, as well you know, studded with apples, a beautiful show. Hark! Over the roof he makes a pause, and growls as if he would fix his claws right in the slates, and with a huge rattle drive them down like men in a battle. But let him range round, he does us no harm. We build up the fire, we're snug and warm, untouched by his breath. See the candle shines bright and burns with a clear and steady light. Books have we to read, but that half-stifled knell, alas, 'tis the sound of the 8 o'clock bell. Come, now we'll to bed, and when we are there, he may work his own will, and what shall we care? He may knock at the door, we'll not let him in, may drive at the windows, we'll laugh at his din. Let him seek his own home, wherever it be. Here's a cosy warm house for Edward and me. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
The Anniverse, an Elegy, by Henry King. Read for LibriVox.org by Public Domain Scholar. The Anniverse, an Elegy. So soon grown old, hast thou been 6 years dead, poor earth, once by my love inhabited, and must I live to calculate the time, to which thy blooming youth could never climb, but fell in the ascent, yet have not I studied enough thy losses history. How happy were mankind, if death's strict laws consumed our lamentations like the cause, or that our grief, turning to dust, might end with the dissolved body of a friend. But sacred heaven, oh how just thou art, in stamping death's impression on that heart, which through thy favours would grow insolent, were it not physicked by sharp discontent. If then it stand, resolved in thy decree, that still I must doomed to a desert be, sprung out of my lone thoughts, which know no path, but what my own misfortune beaten hath. If thou wilt bind me, living to a course, and I must slowly waste, I then of force stoop to thy great appointment, and obey that will which naught avails me to gainsay. For whilst in sorrow's maze I wander on, I do but follow life's vocation. Sure we were made to grieve at our first birth, with cries we took possession of the earth, and though the lucky man reputed be fortune's adopted son, yet only he is nature's true-born child, who sums his years, like me, with no arithmetic but tears. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Apple Year by Liberty Hyde Bailey. Read for LibriVox.org by Amy Gramour. My last winter apple I ate today, shapely and stout in their mottled skins, securely packed in my cellar bins. 24 good kinds of apple spheres lay, and today I went to my orchard trees, and picked me the first ripe yellow fruits, that hung far out on the swinging shoots, in summer suns and the wonder day breeze. And thereby it was that the 2 years met, deep in the heart of the ripe July, when the wheat was shocked and streams were dry, and weather of winter stayed with me yet. For I planted these orchard trees myself, on hillside slopes that belong to me, where visions are wide and winds are free, that all the year round might come to my shelf. And there on my shelves the white winter threw Pippin and Newtown, Rambo and Spy, Greening and Swar and Spitzenberg lie, with memories tense of sun and the dew. They bring the great fields and the fence rows here, the ground bird's nest and the cowbell's stroke, the tent worm's web and the night fire's smoke, and smell of the smartweed through all the year. They bring me the days when the ground was turned, when the trees were pruned and tilled and sprayed, when the sprouts were cut and grafts were made, when fields were cleaned and the brushwood piles burned. And then the full days of the ripe month's call, for Jefferus Dyer and early Joe, Genango, Mother, Sweet Bough and Snow, that hold the pith of high summer and fall. All a sprightly and tart the crisp flesh breaks, and the juices run cordial and fine, where the odors and acids combine, and lie in the cells till essence awakes. I tasted of the wilds in the blowing rain, and I taste of the frost in the skies. Condensed they lie in the apple guise, and then escape and restore me again. So every day all the old years end, and so every day they begin. So every day the winds come in, and so every day the 12 months blend. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
As a Pale Child by Helen Hay Whitney. Read for LibriVox.org by Bruce Kachuk. As a pale child, hemmed in by windy rain, patiently turns to touch his well-known toys, playing as children play who make no noise, yet happy in a way, then sighs again to watch the world across the storm-dim pane, and sees with wistful eyes glad girls and boys who romp beneath the rain's unlicensed joys, and feels wild longings sweep his gentle brain. So I, contented with my flowers for stars, stroll in my fair walled garden happily, knowing no gladder game, till, shrill and sweet, I hear life's cry ring down the silent street, and press my face against the sunlit bars, to watch the joyous spirits who are free.
End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
The Battle of Bully Wood by Edgar A. Guest. Read for LibriVox.org by Alan Mapstone. It was thick with Prussian troopers, it was foul with German guns. Every tree that cast a shadow was a sheltering place for Huns. Death was guarding every roadway, death was watching every field, and behind each rise of terrain was a rapid fire concealed. But Uncle Sam's Marines had orders, drive the Boche from where they're hid. For the honour of Old Glory, take the woods, and so they did. I fancy none will tell it as the story should be told. None will ever do full justice to those Yankee troopers bold. How they crawled upon their stomachs through the fields of golden wheat, with the bullets spitting at them in that awful battle heat. It's a tale too big for writing, it's beyond the voice or pen, but it glows among the splendour of the bravest deeds of men. It's recorded as a battle, but I fancy it will live as the brightest gem of courage human struggles have to give. Inch by inch they crawled to victory toward the flaming mounts of guns. Inch by inch they crawled to grapple with the barricaded Huns. On through fields that death was sweeping, with a murderous fire they went, till the Teuton line was vanquished and the German strength was spent. Ebbed and flowed the tides of battle, as they'd seldom done before. Slowly, surely moved the Yankees against all the odds of war. For the honour of the fallen, for the glory of the dead, the living line of courage kept the faith and moved ahead. They'd been ordered not to falter, and when night came on they stood, with Old Glory proudly flying o'er the trees of Bully Wood. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
The Bee and the Gardener's Daughter by Johann Wilhelm Ludwig Gleim. Read for LibriVox.org by Newgatenovelist. Once a little bee there flew busily about, and drew sweets from every blooming flower. Little bee, the maiden cried, who was busy there at work, oft therein doth poison lurk, and thou sipp'st from every flower. Yes, said the bee, the sweets I sup, but leave the poison in the cup. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
The Bells, Part 4, by Edgar Allan Poe. Read for LibriVox.org by Rags. Hear the tolling of the bells, iron bells. What a world of solemn thought their monody compels. In the silence of the night, how we shiver with affright at the melancholy menace of the tone, for every sound that floats from the rust within their throats is a groan. And the people, ah, the people, they that dwell up in the steeple all alone, and who tolling, 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 in that muffled monotone, feel a glory in soul rolling on the human heart a stone. They are neither man nor woman, they are neither brute nor human, they are ghouls. And their king it is who tolls, and he rolls, 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 rolls. A paean from the bells, and his merry bosom swells with the paean of the bells, and he dances and he yells, keeping time, 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 in a sort of runic rhyme, to the paean of the bells, keeping time, 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 in a sort of runic rhyme, to the throbbing of the bells, 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 to the sobbing of the bells, keeping time, 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 as he knells, 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 in a happy runic rhyme, to the rolling of the bells, 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 to the tolling of the bells, 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 to the moaning and the groaning of the bells. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Beyond the Harbor Bar by William Lawrence Chittenden. Read for LibriVox.org by Larry Wilson. Since thou must sail the seas of life, where storms and billows are, steer for that blessed port of peace, beyond the harbor bar. Keep to your course. Sail bravely on toward mansions over there. Have truth and kindness for your crew, and hope the pilot fair. Avoid the ragged rocks of doubt. Doubt is a dangerous reef. Track well offshore. Stand boldly out past shoals of unbelief. Beware that narrow channel creeds. Keep to the ocean broad, where charity swells deep with deeds, wide as the heart of God. Starboard your helm. Reach for the right. Keep watch above, below. Fly loyal colors to the breeze, no matter what gales blow. Sail bravely on. The beacon lights are shining now afar, within love's blessed port of peace, beyond the harbor bar. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Calling the Dead by Sarah M.B. Piatt. Read for LibriVox.org by Brian Fullen. My little child, so sweet a voice might wake so sweet a sleeper for so sweet a sake. Calling your buried brother back to you, you laugh and listen, till I listen too. Why does he listen? It may be to hear sounds too divine to reach my troubled ear. Why does he laugh? It may be he can see the face that only tears can hide from me. Poor baby Faith, so foolish or so wise, the name I shape out of forlornest cries, he speaks as with a bird's or blossom's breath. How fair the knowledge is that knows not death! Ah, fools and blind, through all the piteous years, searchers of stars and graves, how many seers, calling the dead and seeking for a sign, have laughed and listened like this child of mine. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
The Chant of the Gravedigger by Robert S. Carr. From Weird Tales Magazine, January 1928. Read for LibriVox.org by Dale Grothmann. I'm the one who gets you all. Ho, I swing my shovel. Lean ones, fat ones, short or tall. Ho, I swing my shovel. Rich and poor, I lay you deep where the grave worms writhe and creep in the cold earth's oozy seep. Ho, I swing my shovel. Coffin lids are bright and new. Ho, I swing my shovel. Mausoleums mighty few. Ho, I swing my shovel. Here the wet clods tumble down, preacher, thief, or circus clown, tattered rags or ermine gown. Ho, I swing my shovel. Far away from mortal woes, ho, I swing my shovel. Maggots nibble at your toes. Ho, I swing my shovel. Born to die, a monstrous jest, sordid 80 years at best. Then you're rotting with the rest. Ho, I swing my shovel. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Cloistered by Mary Carolyn Davies. Read for LibriVox.org by mleigh. Tonight the little girl nun died. Her hands were laid across her breast. The last sun tried to kiss her quiet braid, and where the little river cried, her grave was made. The little girl nun's soul in awe went silently to where her brother Christ she saw under the living tree. He sighed, and his face seemed to draw her tears to see. He laid his hands on her hands mild, and gravely blessed. Blind, they that kept you so, he smiled, with tears unguessed. Saw they not Mary held a child upon her breast? End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
De Profundis by C.S. Lewis, 1919. Read for LibriVox by Josh Mitteldorf. Come, let us curse our master ere we die, for all our hopes in endless ruin lie. The good is dead. Let us curse God Most High. 4,000 years of toil and hope and thought, wherein man labored upward and still wrought new worlds and better, Thou hast made us naught. We built us joyful cities strong and fair, knowledge we sought and gathered wisdom rare, and all this time you laughed upon our care. And suddenly the earth grew black with wrong. Our hope was crushed and silenced was our song. The heaven grew loud with weeping. Thou art strong. Come then, and curse the Lord over the earth. Gross darkness falls, and evil was our birth, and our few happy days of little worth. Even if it be not at all a dream in vain, the ancient hope that still will rise again, of a just God that cares for earthly pain, Yet far away beyond our labouring night, he wanders in the depths of endless light, singing alone his musics of delight. Only the far spent echo of his song our dungeons and deep cells can smile along, and thou art nearer, thou art very strong. O universal strength, I know it well, it is but froth of folly to rebel, for thou art Lord and hast the keys of hell. Yet I will not bow down to thee nor love thee, for looking in my own heart I can prove thee, and know this frail bruised being is above thee. Our love, our hope, our thirsting for the right, our mercy and long seeking of the light, shall we change these for thy relentless might? Laugh then, and slay, shatter all things of worth, heap torment still on torment for thy mirth. Thou art not Lord while there are men on earth. End of poem.
This LibriVox recording is in the public domain.
From the Arabic by Percy Bysshe Shelley. Read for LibriVox.org by Sherr. My faint spirit was sitting in the light of thy looks, my love. It panted for thee, like the hind at noon for the brooks, my love. Thy barb, whose hooves outspeed the tempest's flight, bore thee far from me. My heart, for my weak feet were weary soon, did companion thee. Ah, fleeter far than fleetest storm or steed, or the death they bear, the heart which tender thought clothes like a dove with the wings of care. In the battle, in the darkness, in the need shall mine cling to thee, nor claim one smile for all the comfort, love, it may bring to thee. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
From the Land, Shepherds and Stars Are Quiet with the Hills by Vita Sackville-West. Read for LibriVox.org by Winston, Tharp. Shepherds and stars are quiet with the hills. There is a bond between the men who go from youth about the business of the earth and the earth they serve, their cradle and their grave. Stars with the seasons alter. Only he who wakeful follows the pricked revolving sky turns concordant with the earth while others sleep. To him the dawn is punctual. To him the quarters of the year no empty name. A loutish life, but in the midst of dark cut to a gash of beauty, as when the hawk bears upwards in its talons the striking snake, high and yet higher, till those two hang close, sepulchral on the blue, together twined, exalted, deathly, silent, and alone. And since to live men labor, only knowing life's little lantern between dark and dark, the fieldsman in his grave humility goes about his centennial concerns, bread for his race and fodder for his kine, mating and breeding, since he only knows the life he sees, how it may best endure. But on his Sabbath pacifies his God blindly, though storm may wreck his urgent crops, and sees no beauty in his horny life, with closer wisdom than soft poets use. But I, like him who strive closely with earth and know her grudging mind, will sing no songs of bounty, for I see only the battle between man and earth, the sweat, the weariness, the care, the balk. See earth the slave and tyrant, mutinous, turning upon her tyrant and her slave, yielding reluctantly her fruits to none but most peremptory wooers. Whatever waste eludes man's vigilance, there springs the weeds and darnels, where he treads through woods, a-tangled nets, and trips his steps. His hands alone force fruitfulness and tilth. Strange lovers, man and earth, their love and hate braided in mutual need, and of their strife a tired contentment born. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain. From the Windy City by Carl Sandburg. Read for LibriVox.org by Winston, Tharp. Winds of the Windy City come out of the prairie all the way from Medicine Hat. Come out of the inland sea-blue water, come where they nickname a city for you. Corn wind in the fall, come off the black lands, come off the whisper of the silk hangers, the lap of the flat spear leaves. Blue water wind in summer, come off the blue miles of lake, carry your inland sea-blue fingers, carry us cool, carry your blue to our homes. White spring winds, come off the bag-wool clouds, come off the running melted snow, come white as the arms of snow-born children. Gray fighting winter winds come along on the tearing blizzard tails, the snouts of the hungry hunting storms, come fighting gray in winter. Winds of the Windy City, winds of corn and sea-blue, spring wind, white and fighting winter gray, come home here, they nickname a city for you. The wind of the lake shore waits and wanders, the heave of the shore wind hunches the sand piles, the winkers of the morning stars count out cities and forget the numbers. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
God's World by Edna St. Vincent Millay. Read for LibriVox.org by Sherr. O world, I cannot hold thee close enough. Thy winds, thy wide grey skies, thy mists that roll and rise, thy woods this autumn day that ache and sag and all but cry with colour, that gaunt crag to crush, to lift the lean of that black bluff. World, world, I cannot get thee close enough. Long have I known a glory in it all, but never knew I this. Here such a passion is that stretcheth me apart. Lord, I do fear thou'st made the world too beautiful this year. My soul is all but out of me. Let fall no burning leaf. Prithee, let no bird call. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
The Gravedigger by Khalil Gibran. Read for LibriVox.org by Dale Grothmann. Once, as I was burying one of my dead selves, the gravedigger came by and said to me, "Of all those who come here to bury, you alone I like." Said I, "You please me exceedingly, but why do you like me?" "Because," he said, "they come weeping and go weeping. You only come laughing and go laughing." End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
The Great Breath by George William Russell. Read for LibriVox.org by Algy. Its edges foamed with amethyst and rose, withers once more the old blue flower of the day. There where the ether like a diamond glows, its petals fade away. A shadowy tumult stirs the dusky air. Sparkle the delicate dews, the distant snows. The great deep thrills, for through it everywhere the breath of beauty blows. I saw how all the trembling ages past Moulded to her by deep and deeper breath, Neared to the hour when beauty breathes her last And knows herself in death. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Haunted by F.E. Weatherly, read for LibriVox.org by Brian Fullen. Row, 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 morning, noon, and night, and it's floating, 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 never out of my sight. Look, don't you see it, sir, out in the moonlight there, with its white eyelids closed and the beautiful long brown hair? It's my wife, sir, my little wife. I left her there to drown, but she floats, floats forever, and she won't go down. And the river rises from King Road, and the wind blows from the sea, but to and fro, she drifts longside of me. And the river falls and the tide flows out, but 'twill not carry her down. It's my wife, sir, my little wife. I left her there to drown. You think I'm mad or fond, or just a bit drunk, maybe. I'm only a poor old man. You needn't be feared of me. Step in and sit in the stern, sir. The steamer won't be long. We'll just drop down and wait where the stream don't run so strong. Out of the sight of it, out of the sight of it, just for a little while, for the long hair clings to the boat, and the lips have a ghastly smile. Aye, but she follows me even yet. Does she think that I've forgotten? Does she think I shall ever forget? Whenever, ever, morning and noon and night, she's floating, 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 never out of my sight. I was so fond of her once, in the old innocent days, with her simple loving heart and her tender trustful ways. So proud of her too, with her brown eyes and beautiful hair. 5 years we were one together in the little house up there. Troubles we had, plenty, for life must be hard, I ken, but the troubles came to both of us, there was no difference then. And all the little worries that came on us thick and fast, she bore them for me, and I for her, and the shadows didn't last. Was that love? I thought so then, took it and was content. Fool, I never knew what love was, and all that it meant. Love that bears you away in wonderful endless dreams, till the world with its workaday life only a shadow seems. Something far down below from you that seems caught above, and there are but 2 souls in the world, you and the one you love. I never knew what that meant through those 5 years with my wife. I was happy just as a brute is that knows not a higher life. God, was it better so? Would it have better been? If those hands had never met mine, that face had never been seen. Don't ask me. I only know that I'd barter years of pain just for a touch of those lips, and an hour of that love again. How did it come to pass? Ah, sir, how does it come to pass? Folks meet 1,000 times, and one man meets one lass. And then, in a moment, life changes, no matter for sweet or sad. Those two will never forget the passionate joy they've had. One day in winter, the tide was strong, the weather wet. Do you think I've forgotten all that? My God, shall I ever forget? I'd been to and fro with the boat for hours, and was cross and worn. Things had been crooked at home when I left my wife that morn. Don't think I blame her, sir, 'tis I am alone to blame. Don't you know, can't you see I'm on fire with my love and my sin and shame? When I see her ever, for ever, morning, noon, and night, floating, 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 never out of my sight, with the ghastly smile on her lips, out on the water there, and her white, white eyelids closed, and her beautiful long brown hair. I'd been to and fro with the boat 100 times or so, hadn't said much to the folks. I was moody and cross and low, thinking of things at home and wondering why that day something out of my life seemed loosened and slipping away. I know not, I cannot tell, I was changed, and then a face seemed to rise out of the darkness, and a light was over the place. Just a little maid, with grey eyes and golden hair, standing by the water's edge, and held me hand out there. I took it, I looked in her face, but somehow I couldn't speak. I felt her tremble, she was so near, her soft breath touched my cheek. She sat in the stern, there was no one else, and I shoved the boat away, and let her drift. Was I mad or drunk? Ah, God, that winter day. The racing river, the flying clouds, and the wild and watery moon, those first strange moments I saw her, why did they pass so soon? With her soft, sweet eyes, so full of compassion and pity divine, as her heart looked out through her eyes and read right down into mine. How can I tell you all, sir? Day after day we met, and she's never been out of my heart. How could I ever forget? You know what it was, sir. I loved her, body and soul and brain, and I knew that life and the world could be never the same again. To and fro, I toiled from day to day, but saw nothing, heard nothing, thought nothing, for my life was burning away. With the wild and passionate longing that has found its love too late, and my wife's sweet trustful affection only filled my soul with hate. Sometimes I'd wake in the night and lean over her sleeping head laid on our pillow, hours, and I'd wish that she were dead, or that I were dead, or that other, or that we both were free. I hated her, I hated myself, and all in my misery. And the moon stared in to mock me, and at the window pane the wind was moaning, moaning, in vain, in vain, in vain. But the river, the rushing river, hark, sir, it wails, it wails. A devil hissed in my ear, the river will tell no tales. He lied, sir, you know he lied, for she won't go down. And you see her there, my wife, my wife. I left her to drown, to drown. Take me away, away, just for a little while. God, how her long hair clings. I cannot bear her smile. And you were going to Ireland, sir, with the Juno, Cap'n White? So was she, my little love, my golden hair, that night. A wild, wet night like this, sir, with the clouds scudding along, and the wind sweeping down the river, and the tide a-racing strong. Should I never see her again? Was it better that she should go? Wiser may be, but better, happier, ah no, no. My boat was crowded, my wife was there, clinging to me in fear, when thud, 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 I heard 'twas the Juno drawing near. The men were calling, the wind was loud, and my folks they took a scare. I only knew that my little love was aboard of the great ship there. My God, I could not help it, I swear it, I dropped my oar, and nearer, nearer, nearer came the ship with a rush and roar. Crash! She was down on us then. 'Tis all a bloody dream of drowning faces and outstretched arms and one long piercing scream, and the dash of the surging river and a devil's voice, let be. Leave her to drown, leave her to drown, who'll know it, and you'll be free. And she clung to me, God, and that voice hissed on, leave her to drown. But there she floats on the water, and she won't go down. And it's 30 years since then, sir, but she's never out of my sight. Floating, 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 morning, noon, and night. And the bells, the bells, the bells, don't you hear them over there? The wedding bells of my little love, of my lost sweet golden hair. 30 years ago, but the sound's never out of my head. They ring, ring on, her wedding bells, though she's dead now, long, long dead. Take me away, away, just for a little while, out of the sight of that clinging hair, away from that ghastly smile, out of the sound of those ceaseless bells, bells that were not for me. Anywhere, anywhere, devil or God, out of this misery. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
How We Would Live by Helen Hay Whitney. Read for LibriVox.org by Bruce Kachuk. How we would live! We'd drink the years like wine, with all tomorrows hid behind the veil, which is your hair between two lilies pale, your slender hands. My heart should lie and shine, a crimson rose. We'd catch the wind and twine the evening stars, a chaplet musical to crown our folly, lure the nightingale to sing the bliss your lips should teach to mine. And if the sage, declaring life is vain, should frown upon the flower of all our days, and chide the sun that knows no tears of rain, he should not tease our heart with cynic eye. The soul's vast altar stands beyond his gaze. When two have lived, then shall they fear to die.
End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Hysteria by T.S. Eliot. Read for LibriVox.org by Ronald Gardella. As she laughed, I was aware of becoming involved in her laughter and being part of it, until her teeth were only accidental stars with a talent for squadrille. I was drawn in by short gasps, inhaled at each momentary recovery, lost finally in the dark caverns of her throat, bruised by the ripple of unseen muscles. An elderly waiter with trembling hands was hurriedly spreading a pink and white check cloth over the rusty green iron table, saying, "If the lady and gentleman wish to take their tea in the garden, if the lady and gentleman wish to take their tea in the garden." I decided that if the shaking of her breasts could be stopped, some of the fragments of the afternoon might be collected, and I concentrated my attention with careful subtlety to this end. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
In Summer by Lord Alfred Douglas. Read for LibriVox.org by Winston, Tharp. There were the black pine trees and the sullen hills frowning. There were trills of birds and the sweet hot sun and little rills of water, everyone singing and prattling. There were bees, honey-laden, tuneful, a song far off, and a timid air that sighed and kissed my hair that the hot sun loves. The day was very fair. There was wooing of doves, and the shadows were not yet long. That I lay on the soft green grass, and the smell of the earth was sweet, and I dipped my feet in the little stream, and was cool as a flower is cool in the heat, and the day lay still in a dream, and the hours forgot to pass, and you came, my love, so stealthily that I saw you not, till I felt that your arms were hot round my neck, and my lips were wet with your lips. I had forgot how sweet you were, and lo, the sun has set, and the pale moon came up silently. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
I Shall Not Die for Thee by Douglas Hyde. Read for LibriVox.org by Algy Pug. For thee I shall not die, woman of high fame and name. Foolish men thou mayest slay, I and they are not the same. Why should I expire for the fire of an eye, slender waist or swan-like limb? Is't for them that I should die? The round breasts, the fresh skin, cheeks crimson, hair so long and rich. Indeed, indeed, I shall not die, please God, not I, for any such. The golden hair, the forehead thin, the chaste mien, the gracious ease, the rounded heel, the languid tone, fools alone find death from these. Thy sharp wit, thy perfect calm, thy thin palm like foam o' the sea, thy white neck, thy blue eye, I shall not die for thee. Woman, graceful as the swan, a wise man did nurture me. Little palm, white neck, bright eye, I shall not die for ye. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
The Lamentation of the Old Pensioner by William Butler Yeats, read for LibriVox.org by Ronald Gardella. I had a chair at every hearth when no one turned to see, with "Look at that old fellow there, and who may he be? And therefore do I wander now, and the fret lies on me. The roadside trees keep murmuring, ah, wherefore murmur ye, as in the old days long gone by, green oak and poplar tree? The well-known faces are all gone, and the fret lies on me. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
A Legend of Ceuta by Anonymous, read for LibriVox.org by Brian Fullen. The mighty Emir Alahor, a deadly oath he swore. The race of traitor Julian should cumber earth no more. He heeded not the guerdon won, the golden prize of Spain. He who has broken fealty once may play his part again. Though Julian's power is set at naught, and crushed is Julian's pride, though 'neath the towers of Malaga the broken-hearted died, though to his hole the serpent crawl, his spawn is living still, all trace of him I banish earth, so spoke the Emir's will. With barely 15 cavaliers, Count Julian's way is won, where Marquesas's lofty hold looks down on Aragon, And where the towers of Ceuta frown o'er the frowning sea, where 'gainst its base the winter tides beat long and heavily, sore weeping for her daughter dead, her ruined house and name, close clasping her last treasure left, Countess Frandina came. She was warned by fearful vision, by the warning that he gave, who with pale lips and burning eyes rose from his early grave. The bloodhounds are upon thy track, thy course is well nigh run. From the tiger grasp of Alahor, sister, guard thou thy son. She drew the fair boy to her arms, the last of all her race. She kissed the ebon curls, she kissed the bright young laughing face. The foe is at our heels, my child. Dost fear the dark? She said. Dost fear to hide by Florinda, who sleeps amid the dead? Why should I fear my sister fair? Alarbot said and smiled. In Ceuta's darkling vaults, Frandina left her child. All through the desperate strife that raged around the lofty wall, all through the turmoil of the siege, repulse and loss and fall, couched mid the marble coffins, by pitying angels kept, calm as if clasped in guardian arms, the dark-eyed baby slept. Frandina's gallant fight was lost, and haughty and serene, in her own castle hall she stood, a captive yet a queen. Give me thy child, the emir spoke, and quietly she said, Ask thou what mortals have to give, my boy is with the dead. Thou liest, false the lying lips of Julian's wife must be. Give me thy child, lest torture wring reluctant truth from thee. Do what thou wilt, nor drooped her eye, nor paled her proud lips red. I speak the truth, who speak no more, my child is with the dead. The mighty Emir Alahor in gloomy wrath he heard, but slow, cold Yuza read the face, and heeded not the word. And in the crafty wisdom a childless age will teach, he saw the lurking terror beneath the dauntless speech. Search through the hold, he said, and bring the woman in your train. Through bower and hall and basement they sought, but sought in vain. He marked her falter, as beneath the chapel roof they trode. He bade them tear the altar down, and dash aside the rood. Then, as the baffled war-dogs paused, he saw the light of joy flash for a moment in her eyes, and thought, she has her boy. And through the subtle brain there passed the words that she had said. Halt ho! Exclaimed the hard old man, seek now amid the dead. And if not else amid the vaults our fortune 'tis to find, at least we'll fling Lacava's bones to wither in the wind. Where fair Florinda lay, at last from care and woe at rest, they found Alarbot sleeping calm upon his sister's breast. With ruthless hands they dragged him forth, with ruthless grasp they bore the frantic mother to her cell, and barred the massive door. Mid frowning brows and angry words, undaunted passed the child, and standing by the tyrant's throne, looked up at him and smiled. Then spoke the Emir Alahor, too fair and sweet his face, Take thou the child, O Yuza, I have sworn to crush his race. The old man with the cold grey eyes, up the winding stair, to the tall tower led the babe, and showed him where rich and fair, beyond the dancing waves, beyond the blue majestic main, lay smiling in the evening light the golden shores of Spain. Upon the loftiest parapet he set the child. Dost fear? Nay, father, for my Spain is there, and thy firm hold is here. Stretch out thy hands then to thy Spain, the Spain thy father gave to us and ours. Stretch out thy hands and greet the Moslem's slave. And wonderingly the pretty boy held out his little hands. A push, a cry, and far below, down on the yellow sands, down mid the cruel boulders, down in the dread abyss, The corpse of a fair murdered child lay for the waves to kiss, lay for the gentle breeze to fan, the gentle rains to weep, while kindly sea blooms softly wreathed about his dreamless sleep. And fearlessly and calmly Constandina met her doom. When love and life and hope are gone, what terrors has the tomb? But legends say that when at last lay Ceuta down to die, with his last moan of agony there blent a baby's cry. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
A Legend of the Water Spirit Called Necan by Margaret Dixon. Read for LibriVox.org by Lightcrystal. Dark and deep and calm as night flows the stream along, quiet in the evening light as love's fullness strong, flowing, flowing, flowing on, swift as sweet days come and gone, low murmuring like eternity, softly step to children bright, hearkening for the water sprite, nigh unto the older tree, where at evening singeth he, as he doth sing tonight, floating on the azure tide, fairer than an earthly bride, while the river flows along. Hearken to the spirit's song. Softly falls the summer over all the land, softly flows the river past its mossy strand, overarched by wild rose bowers, clustered with the woodbine flowers, hanging down their fragrant tresses over shady cool recesses, where the water lilies gleam, tranquil on the moving stream. Deep beneath the spirits glide, who know not sorrow, hate, nor pride, loving earth with its fair things, mountain, valley, and sunny lea, but most the rivers so pure and free, sparkling fountains, secret springs, dewy flowers in radiant bloom, morning glories, midnight gloom, loving all things pure and bright, with unspeakable delight, learning from the starry skies everlasting mysteries. Sudden ceased both lyre and song, softly flowed the stream along, for thus spake those children young, O Necan, what availeth thee to sing and play so gloriously in perfect exultation? What avail the starry skies, or the splendour of thine eyes, or the unsealed mysteries? For thee is no salvation. Weeping sore the spirit threw far his golden stringed lyre, piteous wailing wild and shrill sank he in the waters blue, in a fairy ring of fire. Once they flashed and then were still, homeward turned the children bright, through the meadows green and wide, soon their father's knee beside, told they of the water sprite. Grave he heard them, answering then, Nay, my children, ye were wrong, thus to mar the spirit's song. Haste tomorrow to the glen, when the light is fair and dim, that the sunset giveth. Tell the spirit that for him too the Saviour liveth. On the morrow, when the sun to the western gates had run, forth there stepped those children bright, hearkening for the water sprite. Soon they heard him wailing low, in his sad extreme of woe, underneath the alder tree, weeping in his misery. Softly drew the children near, softly spake, O Spirit, hear. Our sire this comfort giveth, God has sent his Son to be the world's Redeemer, then for thee. See, the Redeemer liveth. Then the Spirit wept no more, golden stringed lyre he strung, Soon melodious echoes rung from the farther wooded shore. Gloriously he played and sung, whilst the sun withdrew his light. Slowly rose behind the trees Orion and the Pleiades, and still went singing on the joyful water sprite. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Lines on the Mermaid Tavern by John Keats. Read for LibriVox.org by DavidH. Souls of poets, dead and gone, what Elysium have ye known? Happy field or mossy cavern, choicer than the Mermaid Tavern? Have ye tippled drink more fine than mine host's canary wine? Or are fruits of paradise sweeter than those dainty pies of venison? Oh, generous food! Dressed as though bold Robin Hood would, with his maid Marian, sup and bowse from horn and can. I have heard that on a day mine host's signboard flew away, nobody knew whither, till an astrologer's old quill to a sheepskin gave the story, said he saw you in your glory, underneath a new old sign, sipping beverage divine, and pledging with contented smack the mermaid in the zodiac. Souls of poets, dead and gone, what Elysium have ye known? Happy field or mossy cavern, choicer than the Mermaid Tavern. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Love and Death by Sri Aurobindo. Read for LibriVox.org by Arden. July 15th, 2024. Love and Death, 1899. Love and Death. In woodlands of the bright and early world, when love was to himself yet new and warm, and stainless, played like morning with a flower, Ruru with his young bride Priyamvada. Fresh-cheeked and dew-eyed white Priyamvada opened her budded heart of crimson bloom to love, to Ruru. Ruru, a happy flood of passion round a lotus dancing thrilled, blinded with his soul's waves Priyamvada. To him the earth was a bed for this soul-flower, to her all the world was filled with his embrace. Wet with new rains, the morning earth, released from her fierce centuries and burning suns, lavished her breath and greenness. Poignant flowers thronged all her eager breast, and her young arms cradled a childlike bounding life that played and would not cease, nor ever weary grew of her bright promise. For all was joy and breeze and perfume, color and bloom and ardent rays of living and delight desired the world. Then earth was quick and pregnant tamelessly. A free and unwalled race possessed her plains, whose hearts uncramped by bonds, whose unspoiled thoughts at once replied to light. Foisoned the fields, lonely and rich, the forests and the swaying of those unnumbered tops affected men, with thoughts to their vast music kin. Undammed, the virgin rivers moved towards the sea, and mountains yet unseen, and peoples vague, winged young imagination like an eagle, to strange beauty remote. And Ruru felt the sweetness of the early earth his sap, all through him, and short life an aeon made, by boundless possibility, and love, sweetest of all unfathomable love, a glory untired. As a bright bird comes flying from airy extravagance to his own home, and breasts his mate, and feels her all his goal, so from boon sunlight and the fresh chill wave, which swirled and lapped between the slumbering fields, from forest pools and wanderings mid leaves through emerald ever-new discoveries, mysterious hillsides ranged in buoyant swift races with our wild brothers in the meads, came Ruru back to the white-bosomed girl, strong-winged to pleasure. She, all fresh and new, rose to him, and he plunged into her charm. For neither to her honey and poignancy, artlessly interchanged, nor any limit to the sweet physical delight of her, he found. Her eyes, like deep and infinite wells, lured his attracted soul, and her touch thrilled, not lightly, though so light. The joy prolonged, and sweetness of the lingering of her lips, was every time a nectar of surprise to her lover. Her smooth gleaming shoulder bared, in darkness of her hair showed jasmine bright, while her kissed bosom by rich tumult stirred, was a moved sea that wrought beneath his heart, that when her lips had made him blind, soft siege of all her unseen body to his rule, betrayed the ravishing realm of her white limbs, an empire for the glory of a god. He knew not whether he loved most her smile, her causeless tears or little angers swift, whether held wet against him from the bath, among her kindred lotuses, her cheeks soft to his lips and dangerous happy breasts, that vanquished all his strength with their desire, meeting his absence with her sudden face, or when the leaf-hid bird at night complained, near their wreathed arbor on the moonlit lake, sobbing delight out from her heart of bliss, or in his clasp of rapture laughing low, of his close bosom bridal glad and pleased with passion and this fiery play of love, or breaking off like one who thinks of grief, wonderful melancholy in her eyes, grown liquid and with wayward sorrow large. Thus he and her found a warm world of sweets, and lived of ecstasy secure, nor deemed any new hour could match that early bliss. But love has joys for spirits born divine, more bleeding lovely than his thornless rose. That day he had left, while yet the east was dark, rising her bosom and into the river, swam out, exulting in the sting and swift, sharp-edged desire around his limbs, and sprang wet to the bank, and streamed into the wood. As a young horse upon the pastures glad feels green sward and the wind along his mane, and arches as he goes his neck, so went, in an immense delight of youth, the boy, and shook his locks, joy-crested. Boundlessly he revelled in swift air of life, a creature of wide and vigorous morning. Far he strayed, tempting for flower and fruit branches in heaven, and plucked and flung away, and brighter chose, seeking comparisons for her bloom, and followed new streams, and touched new trees, and felt slow beauty and leafy secret change. For the damp leaves, grey-green at first, grew pallid with the light, and warmed with consciousness of sunshine near. Then the whole daylight wandered in, and made hard tracks of splendor, and enriched all hues. But when a happy sheltered heat he felt, and heard contented voice of living things, harmonious with the noon, he turned, and swiftly went homeward yearning to Priamvada, and near his home emerging from green leaves, he laughed towards the sun. "O father sun," he cried, "how good it is to live, to love! Surely our joy shall never end, nor we grow old, but like bright rivers or pure winds sweetly continue, or revive with flowers, or live at least as long as senseless trees." He dreamed and said with a soft smile, "Lo, she, and she will turn from me with angry tears, her delicate face more beautiful than storm or rainy moonlight. I will follow her, and soothe her heart with sovereign flatteries, or rather all tyranny exhaust, and taste the beauty of her anger like a fruit, vexing her soul with helplessness, then soften easily with quiet undenied demand of heart insisting upon heart, or else will reinvest her beauty bright with flowers, or with my hands her little feet persuade. Then will her face be like a sudden dawn, and flower compelled into reluctant smiles. He had not seized when he beheld her. She, tearing a jasmine bloom with waiting hands, stood drooping petulant, but heard at once his footsteps, and before she was aware, a sudden smile of exquisite delight leapt to her mouth, and a great blush of joy surprised her cheeks. She for a moment stood, beautiful with her love before she died, and he laughed towards her. With a pitiful cry, she paled, moaning, her stricken limbs collapsed. But petrified, in awful dumb surprise, he gazed, then waking with a bound was by her, all panic expectation. As he came, he saw a brilliant flash of coils evade the sunlight, and with hateful gorgeous hood, darted into green safety, hissing death. Voiceless he sank beside her and stretched out his arms and desperately touched her face, as if to attract her soul to live, and sought beseeching with his hands her bosom. Oh, she was warm, and cruel hope pierced him, but pale as jasmine's fading on a girl's sweet breast, her cheek was, and forgot its perfect rose. Her eyes that clung to sunlight yet, with pain were large and feebly round his neck her arms she lifted, and desiring his pale cheek against her bosom, sobbed out piteously, "Ah, love!" and stopped heartbroken. Then, "Oh, love! Alas, the green, dear home that I must leave so early! I was so glad of love and kisses, and thought that centuries would not exhaust the deep embrace. And I have had so little of joy in the wild day and throbbing night, laughter and tenderness and strife and tears. I have not numbered half the brilliant birds in one green forest, nor am familiar grown with sunrise and the progress of the eves, nor have but plaintive cries of birds made friends. Cuckoo and rain-lark and love speak to me. I have not learned the names of half the flowers around me, so few trees know me by my name. Nor have I seen the stars so very often that I should die. I feel a dreadful hand drawing me from the touch of thy warm limbs into some cold vague mist. An old black night descends towards me. I no more am thine, but go I know not where, and see pale shapes in gloomy countries in that terrible stream. O love, they take me from thee far, and whether we shall find each other ever in the wide, dreadful territory of death, I know not, or thou wilt forget me quiet, and life compel thee into other arms. Ah, come with me! I cannot bear to wander in that cold, cruel country all alone, helpless and terrified, or saw by streams denied sweet sunlight, and by thee unloved. Slower her voice came now, and over her cheek death paused. Then sobbing like a little child, too early from her bounding pleasures called, the lovely discontented spirit stole from her warm body white. Over her leaned Ruru, and waited for dead lips to move. Still in the greenswood lay Priamvada, and Ruru rose not from her, but with eyes emptied of glory hung above his dead. Only without a word, without a tear. Then the crowned wives of the great forest came, they who had fed her from maternal breasts, and grieved over her lovely body cold, and bore it from him. Nor did he entreat one last look, nor one kiss, nor yet denied what he had loved so well. They the dead girl into some distant greenness bore away. But Ruru, while the stillness of the place remembered her, sat without voice. He heard, through the great silence that was now his soul, the forest sounds, a squirrel's leap through leaves, the cheeping of a bird just overhead, a peacock with his melancholy cry, complaining far away, and tossings dim and slight a noticeable stir of trees. But all these were to him like distant things, and he alone in his heart's void. And yet no thought he had of her so lately lost. Rather far pictures, trivial incidents, of that old life before her delicate face had lived for him, dumbly distinct like thoughts of men that die, kept with long pomps his mind, excluding the dead girl. So still he was. The birds flashed by him with their swift small wings, fanning him. Then he moved. Then rigorous memory through all his body shuddering awoke, and he looked up and knew the place, and recognized greenness immutable, and saw old trees and the same flowers still bloom. He felt the bright indifference of earth, and all the lonely uselessness of pain. Then lifting up the beauty of his brow, he spoke, with sorrow pale, O grim, cold death! But I will not like ordinary men satiate thee with cries, and falsely woo thee, and make my grief thy theatre, who lie prostrate beneath thy thunderbolts, and make night witness of their moans, shuddering and crying, when sudden memories pierce them like swords, and often starting up as at a thought intolerable, pace a little, then sink down exhausted by brief agony. O secrecy terrific, darkness vast, at which we shudder, somewhere, I know not where, somehow, I know not how, I shall confront thy gloom tremendous spirit, and seize with hands, and prove what thou art and what man, he said, and slowly to the forests wandered. There long months he travelled between grief and grief, reliving thoughts of her with every pace, measuring vast pain in his immortal mind, and his heart cried in him as when a fire roars through wide forests, and the branches cry, burning towards heaven in torture glorious. So burned immense his grief within him. He raised his young pure face all solemnized with pain, voiceless. Then fate was shaken, and the gods grieved for him, of his silence grown afraid. Therefore from peaks divine came flashing down immortal Agni, and to the Uswara tree cried in the voice that slays the world, O tree, that liftest thy enormous branches able to shelter armies, more than armies now, shelter, be famous, house a brilliant god. For thee grief grows in Ruru's breast uppiled, as wrestles with its anguished barricades, in silence and impending flood, and gods immortal grow afraid. For earth alarmed shudders to bear the curse lest her young life, pale with eclipse, and all creating love, be to mere pain condemned. Divert the wrath into thy boughs, Uswata, thou shalt be my throne, glorious, though in eternal pangs, yet worth much pain to harbor divine fire. So ended the young pure destroyer's voice, and the dumb god consented silently. In the same noon came Ruru. His mind had paused, lured for a moment by soft wandering gleams into forgetfulness of grief, for thoughts gentle and near-eyed whispering memories so sweetly came, his blind heart dreamed she lived. Slow the uswata tree bent down its leaves, and smote his cheek and touched his heavy hair, and Ruru turned illumined. For a moment, one blissful moment he had felt 'twas she. So had she often stolen up and touched his curls with her enamored fingers small, lingering while the wind smote him with her hair, and her quick breath came to him like spring. Then he, turning as one surprised with heaven, saw ready to his swift passionate grasp her bosom, and body sweet expecting his embrace. Oh, now saw her not, but the guilty tree, shrinking. Then grief back with a double crown arose and stained his face with agony. Nor silence he endured, but the dumb force, ascetic and inherited by sires, fierce musing earned, from the boy's bosom blazed. O uswata tree, wantonly who hast mocked my anguish with the wind, but thou no more have joy of the cool wind nor green delight, but live thy guilty leaves in fire, so long as Aryan wheels by thy doomed shadow vast thunder to war, nor bless with cool wide waves lyric Saraswati nations impure. He spoke, and the vast tree groaned through its leaves, recognizing its fate, then smoldered. Lines of living fire rushed up the girth and hissed, serpentine in the unconsuming leaves. Last, Ohutashan in his chariot armed, sprang on the boughs and blazed into the sky, and wailing all the great tormented creature stood wide in agony. One half was green and earthly, the other a weird brilliance filled with the speed and cry of endless flame. But he, with the fierce rushing out of power, shaken in that strong grasp of anguish, flung his hands out to the sun. Priyamvada! He cried, and at that well-loved sound there dawned, with overwhelming sweetness miserable, upon his mind the old delightful times, when he had called her by her liquid name, where the voice loved to linger. He remembered the champuk bushes where she turned away, half-angered, and his speaking of her name, masterfully as to a lovely slave, rebellious who was aired. At that the slow yielding of her small head, and after a little her sliding towards him in beautiful, propitiating body as she sank down, with timid graspings deprecatingly, in prostrate warm surrender, her flushed cheeks upon his feet and little touches soft, or her long name uttered beseechingly, and the swift leap of all her body to him, and eyes of large repentance, and the weight of her wild bosom and lips unsatisfied, or hourly call for little trivial needs, or sweet unneeded wanton summoning, daily appeal that never staled nor lost its sudden music, and her lovely speed, sedulous occupation left, quick breathing, with great glad eyes and eager parted lips, or in deep quiet moments murmuring that name like a religion in her ear, and her calm look compelled to ecstasy, or to the river luring her, or breathed over her dainty slumber, or secret sweet, bridal outpantings of her broken name. All these as rush on intermitting waves upon a swimmer overborne, broke on him, relentless, things too happy to be endured, till faint with the recalled felicity, low he moaned out, O pale Priyamvada, O dead fair flower, yet living to my grief. But I could only slay the innocent tree, powerless when power should have been. Not such was Brigu, from whose sacred strength I spring, nor Brigu's son, my father, when he blazed out from Paloma's side, and burning blind, fell like a tree the ravisher unjust. But I degenerate from such sires, O death, that showest not thy face beneath the stars, but comest masked, and on our dear ones seizing, fearest to wrestle equally with love, nor from thy gloomy house any come back to tell thy way. But oh, if any strength in lover's constancy to torture dwell, earthward to force a helping god in such ascetic force be born of lover's pain, let my dumb pangs be heard. Whoe'er thou art, O thou bright enemy of death, descend, and lead me to that portal dim. For I have burned in fires cruel as the fire, and lain upon a sharper couch than swords. He seized, and heaven thrilled, and the far blue quivered as with invisible downward wings. But Ruru passioned on, and came with Eve to secret grass and a green opening moist in a cool lustre, leaned upon a tree that bathed in fairy air and saw the sky, 3 branches, and a single parrot loud screamed from its top. There stood a golden boy, half naked, with bright limbs all beautiful. Delicate they were in sweetness absolute, for every gleam and every soft, strong curve magically compelled the eye, and smote the heart to weakness. In his hands he swung a bow, not such as human archers use, for these string moved and murmured like many bees, and nameless fragrance made the casual air apparel. He on Ruru that fair face turned, and his steps with lovely gesture chained. Who art thou here, in forests wandering? And thy young exquisite face is solemnized with pain. Luxuriously the gods have tortured thy heart to see such dreadful glorious beauty agonize in thy lips and brilliant eyes. As tyrants in the fierceness of others' pangs, joy and feel strong, clothing with brilliant fire. Tyrants in Titan lands, needs must her mouth have been pure honey and her bosom a charm, whom thou desirest seeing not the green, and common lovely sounds hast quite forgot. And Ruru, mastered by the god, replied, I know thee by thy cruel beauty bright, Kama, who makest many worlds one fire. Ah, wherefore wilt thou ask of her to increase the passion and regret? Thou knowest, great love, thy nymph her mother, if thou truly art he, and not a dream of my disastrous soul, but with the thrilled eternal smile that makes the spring, the lover of Rothi golden-limbed, replied to Ruru, Mortal, I am he. I am that Madon who informed the stars with luster, and on life's wide canvas fill pictures of light and shade, of joy and tears, make ordinary moments wonderful, and common speech a charm, knit life to life with interfusions of opposing souls, and sudden meetings and slow sorceries, wing the boy bridegroom to that panting breast, smite gods with mortal faces, dreadfully among great beautiful kings, and watched by eyes that burn, force on the virgin's fainting limbs, and drive her to the one face never seen, the one breast meant eternally for her. By me come wedded sweets, by me the wife's busy delight and passionate obedience, and loving eager service never sated, and happy lips, and worshipping soft eyes, and mine the husband's hungry arms and use, unwearying, of old tender words and ways, joy of her hair, and silent pleasure felt of nearness to one dear familiar shape. Nor only these, but many affections bright and soft glad things cluster around my name. I plant fraternal tender yearnings, make the sister's sweet attractiveness, and leap of heart towards imperious kindred blood, and the young mother's passionate deep look, earth's high similitude of one not earth, teach filial heartbeats strong. These are my gifts, for which men praise me, these my glories calm. But fiercer shafts I can, wild storms blown down, shaking fixed minds and melting marble natures. Tears and dumb bitterness and pain unpitied, rat thirsting jealousy and kind hearts made stone. And in undisciplined huge souls I sow dire vengeance and impossible cruelties, cold lusts that linger and fierce fickleness, the loves close kin to hate, brute violence, and mad insatiable longings pale, and passion blind as death and deaf as swords. O mortal, all deep-souled desires and all yearnings immense are mine, so much I can. So as he spoke, his face grew wonderful, with vast suggestion. His human-seeming limbs brightened with a soft splendor, luminous hints of the concealed divinity transpired, but soon with a slight discontented frown. So much I can, as even the great gods learn. Only with death I wrestle in vain, until my passionate godhead all becomes a doubt. Mortal, I am the light and stars, of flowers the bloom, the nameless fragrance that pervades creation. But behind me, older than me, he comes with night and cold tremendous shade. Hard is the way to him, most hard to find, harder to tread, for perishable feet almost impossible. Yet, O fair youth, if thou must needs go down, and thou art strong in passion and in constancy, nor easy the soul to slay that has survived such grief, steel then thyself to venture, armed by love. Yet listen first what heavy trade they drive who would win back their dead to human arms. So much the god, but swift, with eager eyes and panting bosom and glorious flushed face, the lover. O great love, O beautiful love, but if by strength is possible, of body or mind, battle of spirit of moving speech, sweet speech that makes even cruelty grow kind, or yearning melody, for I have heard that when Saraswathi in heaven her harp has smitten, the cruel sweetness terrible coils taking no denial through the soul, and tears burst from the hearts of gods. Then I, making great music, or with perfect words, will strive, or staying him with desperate hands, match human strength against formidable death. But if with price, ah God, what easier, tears dreadful, innumerable I will absolve, or pay with anguish through the centuries, soul's agony and torture physical. So her small hands about my face at last, I feel, close, real hair sting me with life, and palpable breathing bosom on me press. Then with a lenient smile the mighty God, O ignorant fond lover, not with tears shalt thou persuade immitigable death. He will not pity all thy pangs, nor know his stony eyes with music to grow kind, nor lovely words accepts. And how wilt thou wrestle with that grim shadow, who canst not save one bloom from fading, a sole thing the gods demand from all men living, sacrifice, nor without this shall any crown be grasped. Yet many sacrifices are there, oxen, and prayers, and soma wine, and pious flowers, blood and the fierce expense of mind, and pure incense of perfect actions, perfect thoughts, or liberality wide as the sun's, or ruthless labor, or disastrous tears, exile or death, or pain more hard than death, absence or desert, from the faces loved. Even sin may be a sumptuous sacrifice acceptable for unholy fruits, but none of these the inexorable shadow asks. Alone of gods, death loves not gifts. He visits the pure heart as disdained. Lo, the just man bowed helpless over his dead, nor all his virtues shall quicken that cold bosom. Near him the wild, marred face and passionate, and will not leave kissing dead lips that shall not chide him more. Life the pale ghost requires. With half thy life thou mayst protract the thread too early cut of that delightful spirit, half sweet life. O Ruru, lo, my frail precarious days, and yet how sweet they are, simply to breathe how warm and sweet, and ordinary things how exquisite, thou then shalt learn when lost, how luminous the daylight was, mere sleep, how soft and friendly clasping tired limbs, and the deliciousness of common food, and things indifferent thou then shalt want, regret rejected beauty, brightnesses bestowed in vain. Wilt thou yield up, O lover, half thy sweet portion of this light and gladness, thy little insufficient share, and vainly give to another? She is not thyself. Thou dost not feel the gladness in her bosom, nor with the torture of thy body will she throb and cry out. At most with tender looks and pitiful attempt to feel, move near thee, and weep how far she is from what she loves. Men live like stars that see each other in heaven, but one knows not the pleasure and the grief the others feel. He lonely rapture has, or bears his incommunicable pain. O Ruru, there are many beautiful faces, but one thyself. Think then how thou shalt mourn, when thou hast shortened joy and feelst at last the shadow that thou hadst for such sweet store. He seized with a strange doubtful look, but swift came back the lover's voice like passionate rain. O idle words, for what is mere sunlight? Who would live on into extreme old age, burden the impatient world, a weary old man, and look back on a selfish time ill spent, exacting out of prodigal great life small separate pleasures like an usurer, and no rich sacrifice and no large act, finding oneself in others, nor the sweet expense of nature and her passionate gusts, of love and giving first of the soul's needs? Who is so coldly wise, and does not feel how wasted were our grandiose human days, and prudent personal unshared delights? Why dost thou mock me, friend of all the stars? How canst thou be love's god, and know not this, that love burns down the body's barriers cold, and laughs at difference, playing with it merely to make joy sweeter? Oh, too deeply I know, the lover is not different from the loved, nor is their silence dumb to each other. He contains her heart and feels her body in his. He flushes with her heat, chills with her cold, and when she dies, oh, me, the emptiness, the maim, the life no life, the sweet and passionate oneness lost. And if by shortening of great grief won back, O price easy, O glad briefness, eons may envy, for we shall live not fearing death, nor feel as others yearning over the loved at night, when the lamp flickers, sudden chills of dread terrible, nor at short absence agonize, wrestling with mad imagination. Us serenely when the darkening shadow comes, one common sob shall end, and soul clasp soul, leaving the body in a long dim kiss. Then in the joys of heaven we shall consort, amid the gladness often touching hands to make bliss sure. We're in the ghastly stream if we must anguish, yet it shall not part our passionate limbs inextricably locked by one strong agony, but we shall feel hell's pain half joy through sweet companionship. God love, I weary of words. O wing me rather to her, my eloquent princess of the spring. In whatsoever wintry shores she roam, he seized with eager forward eyes. Once more a light of beauty immortal through the limbs, gleaming of the boy god in soft sweet face. Glorifying him flushed, and he replied, Go then, O thou dear youth, and bear this flower in thy hand warily, for thou shalt come to that high meeting of the Ganges pure, with vague and violent ocean. There arise and loudly appeal my brother, the wild sea. He spoke and stretched out his immortal hand, and Ruru's met it. All his young limbs yearned with dreadful rapture shuddering through them. He felt in his fingers subtle, uncertain bloom, a quivering magnificence half fire, whose petals changed like flame, and from them breathed dangerous attraction and alarmed delight, as at a peril near. He raised his eyes, but the green place was empty of the god. Only the fairy tree looked up at heaven through branches, and with recent pleasure shook. Then over fading earth the night was lord. But from Shatudru and Bipasha, streams once holy, and loved Iravathi, and swift clear Chandrabhaga and Bitosta's toil, for man went Ruru to bright sumptuous lands, by Aryan fathers not yet paced, but wild, but virgin to our fruitful human toil, where nature lay reclined in dumb delight, alone with woodlands and the voiceless hills. He with the widening yellow Ganges came, amazed to trackless countries where few tribes, Kirath and Pandrian ward, worshipping trees and the great serpent, but robust wild earth, but forests with their splendid life of beasts. Savage mastered those strong inhabitants. Thither came Ruru. In a thin, soft eve, Ganges spread far her multitudinous waves. A glimmering restlessness, but voices large, and from the forests of that half-seen bank a boat came heaving over it, white-winged, with a soul-silent helmsman marble pale. Then Ruru by his side stepped in. They went down the mysterious river, and beheld the great banks widen out of sight. The world was water, and the skies to water plunged. All night with a dim motion gliding down, he felt the dark against his eyelids, felt as in a dream more real than daylight. The helmsman with his dumb and marble face near him, and moving wideness all around. And that continual gliding dimly on, as one who on a shoreless water sails, for ever to a port he shall not win. But when the darkness paled, he heard a moan of mightier waves, and had the wide great sense of ocean, and the depths below our feet. But the boat stopped. The pilot lifted on him his marble gaze coeval with the stars. Then in the white-winged boat the boy arose, and saw around him the vast sea all grey, and heaving in the pallid dawning light. Loud Ruru cried across the murmur, Hear me, O inarticulate grey ocean, hear! If any cadence in thy infinite rumour was caught from lover's moan, O sea, open thy abysses to my mortal tread. For I would travel to thee despairing shades, the spheres of suffering where entangled dwell, souls unreleased and the untimely dead, who weep remembering. Thither, O guide me, no despicable wayfarer, but Ruru, but son of a great rishi, from all men, on earth selected for peculiar pangs. Special disaster. Lo, this petalled fire, how freshly it blooms and lasts with my great pain. Beheld the flower out subtly glimmering, and like a living thing the huge sea trembled, then rose calling and filled the sight with waves. Converging all its giant crests towards him, innumerable waters loomed and heaven threatened. Horizon on horizon moved, dreadfully swift. Then with a prone wide sound all ocean hollowing drew him swiftly in, curving with monstrous menace over him. He down the gulf where the loud waves collapsed, descending, saw with floating hair arise the daughters of the sea in pale green light, a million mystic breasts suddenly bare, and came beneath the flood, and stunned beheld the mute stupendous march of water's race to reach some viewless pit beneath the world. Ganges he saw, as men predestined rush upon a fearful doom foreseen, so ran alarmed with anguished speed the river vast. Veiled to his eyes the triple goddess rose. She, with a sound of waters, cried to him, a thousand voices moaning with one pain, Lover who fearest not sunlight to leave, with me thou mayst behold that helpless spirit, lost in the gloom, if still thy burning bosom have courage to endure great nature's night. in the dire lands where I, a goddess, mourn, hurting my heart with my own cruelty. She darkened to the ominous descent, unwilling, and her once so human waves sent forth a cry not meant for living ears. And Veru chilled, but terrible strong love was like a fiery finger in his breast, pointing him on. So he through horror went, conducted by inexorable sound. For monstrous voices to his ear were close, and bodiless terrors with their dimness seized him, in an obscurity phantasmal. Thus, with agony of soul to the grey waste, he came, glad of the pain of passage over, into abiding tranquil dreariness, and draw sad breath assured, to the grey waste, hopeless Patala, the immutable country where neither sun nor rain arrives, nor happy labor of the human plough fruitfully turns the soil, but in vague sands and indeterminable strange rocks and caverns, that into silent blackness huge recede, dwell the great serpent and his hosts, writhed forms, sinuous abhorred through many horrible leagues, coiling in a half-darkness. Shapes he saw, and heard the hiss, and knew the lambent light, loathsome, but past compelling his strong soul. At last, through those 6 tired, hopeless worlds, too hopeless far for grief, pale he arrived into another air by anguish moved, and heard before him cries to pierce the heart, human not to be born, and issued shaken by the great river accursed. Maddened it ran, anguished, importunate, and in its waves the drifting ghosts their agony endured. There Ruru saw pale faces float of kings, and grandiose victors, and revered high priests, and famous women. Now rose from the wave a golden shuddering arm, and now a face. Torn piteous sides were seen, and breasts that quailed. Over them moaned the penal waters on, and had no joy of their fierce cruelty. Then Ruru his young cheeks with pity wan, half moaned, O miserable race of men! With violent and passionate souls you come foredoomed upon the earth, and live brief days, in fear and anguish, catching at stray beams of sunlight little fragrances of flowers. Then from your spacious earth in a great horror, descend into this night, and here too soon must expiate your few inadequate joys. O bargain hard, death helps us not. He leads alarmed, all shivering from his chill embrace, the naked spirit here. O my sweet flower, art thou too whelmed in this fierce wailing flood? Ah me! But I will haste and deeply plunge into its hopeless pools, and either bring thy old warm beauty back beneath the stars, or find thee out and clasp thy tortured bosom, and kiss thy sweet wrung lips, and hush thy cries. Love shall draw half thy pain into my limbs, then we shall triumph glad of agony. He seized, and one replied close by his ear, O thou who troublest with thy living eyes established death, pass on. She whom thou seekest rolls not in the accursed tide, for late I saw her mid those pale inhabitants, whom bodily anguish visits not, but thoughts sorrowful and dumb memories absolve. In martyrdom of scourged hearts quivering, he turned and saw astride the dolorous flood a mighty bridge paved with mosaic fire, all restless, and a woman clothed in flame, with hands calamitous that held the sword, stood of the quaking passage sentinel, magnificent and dire her burning face. Pass on, she said once more, O Brigu son, the flower protects thee from my hands. She stretched one arm towards him, and with violence majestic over the horrid arch compelled. Unhurt, though shaking from her touch, alone he stood upon an inner bank with strange, black, dreary mosses covered, and perceived a dim and level plain without one flower. Over it paced a multitude immense, with gentle faces occupied by pain. Strong men were there, and grieving mothers, girls with early beauty in their limbs, and young sad children of their childlike faces robbed. Naked they paced with falling hair, and gazed drooping upon their bosoms, weak as flowers that die for want of rain unmurmuring. Always a silence was upon the place. But Ruru came among them. Suddenly one felt him there and looked, and as a wind moves over a still field of patient corn, and the ears stir and shudder and look up and bend innumerably flowing, so all those dumb spirits stirred, and through them passed one shuddering motion of raised faces. Then they streamed towards him without sound, and caught with desperate hands his robe or touched his hair, or strove to feel upon them living breath. Pale girls and quiet children came and knelt, and with large sorrowful eyes into his looked. Yet with their silent passion the cold hush moved not, but Ruru's human heart half burst, with burden of so many sorrows. Tears welled from him. He with anguish understood that terrible and wordless sympathy of dead souls for the living. Then he turned his eyes and scanned their lovely faces strange, for that one face, and found it not. He paled, and spoke vain words into the listless air. O spirits once joyous, miserable race, happier if the old gladness were forgot. My soul yearns with your sorrow, yet reveal if dwell my love in your sad nation lost. Well may you know her, O wan, beautiful spirits, but she most beautiful of all that died, by sweetness recognizable, her name the sunshine knew. Speaking, his tears made way, but they with dumb lips only looked at him, a vague and empty mourning in their eyes. He murmured low, folly, were she here? Would she not first have felt me, first have raised her lids and run to me, leaned back her face of silent sorrow on my breast and looked, with the old altered eyes into my own, and striven to make my anguish understand? O joy had she been here, for though her lips of their old excellent music quite were robbed, yet her dumb passion would have spoken to me. We should have understood each other and walked, silently hand in hand, almost content. He said and passed through those untimely dead. Speechless they followed him with clinging eyes. Then to a solemn building weird he came, with grave colossal pillars round. One dome roofed the whole brooding edifice like cloud, and at the door strange shapes were pacing armed. Then from their fear the sweet and mournful dead drew back, returning to their wordless grief. But Veru to the perilous doorway strode, and those disastrous shapes upon him raised their bows and aimed. But he held out love's flower, and with stern faces chet they let him pass. He entered and beheld a silent hall, dim and unbounded. Moving then like one who up a dismal stair seeks ever light, attained a dais brilliant doubtfully, with flaming pediment, and round it coiled Python and Naga monstrous, Jaruth Karu, Tuksuk and Vasuki himself immense, magic Karkataka all flecked with fire, and many other prone destroying shapes coiled. On the wondrous dais rose a throne, and he its pedestal whose lotus hood with ominous beauty crowns his horrible sleek folds. Great Mahapudma, high displayed he bears the throne of death. There sat supreme, with those compassionate and lethal eyes, who many names, who many natures holds. Yama, the strong pure Hades, sad and subtle. Dharma, who keeps the laws of old untouched. Kritanta, who ends all things and at last himself shall end. On either side of him, the four-eyed dogs mysterious rested prone, watchful with huge heads on their paws advanced, and emanations of the godhead dim moved near him, shadowy or serpentine. Vast time and cold irreparable death. Then Viru came and bowed before the throne, and swaying all those figures stirred as shapes upon a tapestry moved by the wind. When the sad voice was heard, what breathing man bows at the throne of Hades? By what force, spiritual or communicated, troubles his living beauty the dead grace of hell? And one replied who seemed a neighboring voice, he has the blood of gods and titans old, and Apsara his mother liquid-orbed, bore to the youthful Chiavan's strong embrace, this passionate face of earth with Eden touched. Chiavan was Brigu's child, Puloma bore, the Titaness, Brigu, great Brahma's son. Love gave the flower that helps by anguish, therefore he chilled not with the breath of Hades, nor the cry of the infernal stream made stone. But at the name of love all hell was moved, death's throne half faded into twilight. Hissed the phantom serpentine as if in pain, and the dogs raised their dreadful heads. Then spoke Yama, and what needs love in this pale realm, the warm great love? All worlds his breath confounds, Mars' solemn order and old steadfastness, but not in hell his legates come and go. His vernal jurisdiction to bare hell extends not. This last world resists his power, youthful, anarchic. Here will he enlarge tumult and wanton joys? The voice replied, Menaka momentary on the earth, heaven's Apsara by the fleeting hours beguiled, played in the happy hidden glens. There bowed to yoke a swift terrestrial joys she bore, immortal, to that fair Gundurva king, a mortal blossom of delight. That bloom young Ruru found and plucked, but her too soon thy fatal hooded snake on earth surprised, and he through gloom now travels armed by love. But then all Hades swaying towards him cried, O mortal, O misled, but sacrifice is stronger, nor may law of hell or heaven its fierce effectual action supersede. Thy debt I yield, yet thou bethink thee, mortal, not as a tedious evil, nor to be lightly rejected gave the gods old age, but tranquil, but august, but making easy the steep ascent to God. Therefore must time still batter down the glory and form of youth, an animal magnificent strong ease, to warn the earthward man that he is spirit, dallying with transience, nor by death he ends, nor to the dumb warm mother's arms is bound, but called unborn into the unborn skies. For body fades, but the increasing soul, and wideness of its limit grown intolerant, replaces life's impetuous joys by peace. Youth, manhood, ripeness, age, 4 seasons, twixt its return, and pale departing life, describes, O mortal, youth that forward bends, midst hopes, delights, and dreamings. Manhood deepens to passions, toils, and thoughts profound. But ripeness, for large reflective gathering up of these, is on a lonely slope whence men look back, down towards the cities and the human fields, where they too worked and laughed and loved. Next age, wonderful age with those approaching skies, that boon wilt thou renounce? Wherefore, to bring for a few years, how miserably few, her sunward who must after all return. Ah, son of Rishi, seize! Lo, I remit hell's grasp, not oft relinquished, and send back thy beautiful life unborrowed to the stars. Or thou must render to the immutable, total all thy fruit-bearing years, then she re-blossoms. But the shadow antagonist, let him be shown the glory he would renounce, and over the flaming pediment there moved, as on a frieze a march of sculptures, carved by Phidias for the virgin strong and pure, most perfect once of all things seen in earth, were heaven, in Athens on the Acropolis, but now dismembered, now disrupt, or as in Buddha's cavern or Arisen temple, large aspirations architectural, warrior and dancing girl, adept and king, and conquering pomps and daily peaceful groups, dream delicately on, softening with beauty. Great Bhuvaneshwar, the Almighty's house, with sculptural suggestions so were limned, scenes future on a pediment of fire. There Ruru saw himself divine with age, a rishi to whom infinity is close, rejoicing in some green song-haunted glade, or boundless mountain top where most we feel wideness, not by small happy things disturbed. Around him, as around an ancient tree, its seedlings, forms august or flame-like rose. They grew beneath his hands and were his work. Great kings were there whom time remembers, fertile deep minds and poets with their chanting lips, whose word were seed of vast philosophies. These worshipped. Above this earth's half-day he saw, amazed, the dawn of that mysterious face, and all the universe in beauty merge. Mad the boy thrilled upwards, and spent ebbed back. Over his mind as birds across the sky sweep and are gone the vision of those fields, and drooping faces came. Almost he heard the burdened river with human anguish wail. Then with a sudden fury gathering his soul he hurled out of it half its life, and fell like lightning prone. Triumphant rose the shadow chill and deepened giant night. Only the days flickered in the gloom, and those snake eyes of cruel fire subdued. But suddenly a bloom, a fragrance, hell shuddered with bliss, resentful, overborne. The world besetting terror faded back like one grown weak by desperate victory. Then a voice cried in Ruru's tired soul, "Arise! The strife is over. Easy now the horror that thou hast to face, the burden now shared." And with a sudden burst like spring, life woke in the strong lover overtired. He rose and left dim death. 12 times he crossed Boisterous, the river dolorous. 12 times resisted hell and hurried down into the ominous pit where plunges black the vast stream thundering, saw led puissantly from night to unimaginable night, as men oppressed in dreams who cannot wake, but measure penal visions, punishments whose sight pollutes, unheard of tortures, pangs, monstrous, intolerable mute agonies, twisted unmoving attitudes of pain, like thoughts inhuman and statuary. A fierce and iron voicelessness had grasped those worlds. No horror of cries expressed their endless pain, no saving struggle, no breathings of the soul. And in the last hell irremediable were Ganges clots into that fatal pool. Appalled he saw her, pallid, listless, bare, oh, other than that earthly warmth and grace in which the happy roses deepened and dimmed, with come and go of swift enamored blood. Dumb drooped she, round her shapes of anger armed stood dark like thunderclouds. But Reru sprang upon them, burning with the admitted god. They from his touch like ineffectual fears vanished. Then so with her trembling he cried the old glad name, and crying bent to her, and touched, and at the touch the silent knots of hell were broken. In its sombre dream a dreadful stately pains at once dispersed. Then as from one whom a surpassing joy has conquered, while the bright surrounding world streams swiftly into distance, and he feels his daily senses slipping from his grasp, so that unbearable enormous world went rolling mighty shades, like the wet mist, from men on mountain tops, and sleep outstretched rising its soft arms towards him in his thoughts, as on a bed, saint to ascending void. But when he woke, he heard the coil insist on sweetness and the voice of happy things, content with sunlight. The warm sense was round him, of old essential earth, known hues and custom, familiar tranquilizing body and mind, as in its natural wave a lotus feels. He looked and saw all grass and dense green trees, and sunshine and a single grasshopper. Near him repeated fierily its note. Thrilling he felt beneath his bosom her. Oh, warm and breathing were those rescued limbs, against the greenness vivid palpable white, with great black hair and real, and her cheeks old softness, and her mouth a dewy rose. For many moments comforting his soul with all her jasmine body sun ensnared, he fed his longing eyes, and half in doubt, with touches satisfied himself of her. Hesitating he kissed her eyelids. Sighing with a slight sob, she woke unearthly large, her eyes looked upward into his. She stretched her arms up, yearning, and their souls embraced. Then twixt brief sobbing laughter and blissful tears, clinging with all her limbs to him, O love, the green, green world, the warm sunlight, and seized, finding no words. But the earth breathed round them, glad of her children, and the coil's voice persisted in the morning of the world. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Love's Legacy by Helen Hay Whitney. Read for LibriVox.org by Bruce Kachuk. As one who looks too long upon the sun when he must turn to earth from flame-shot skies, sees all else dark through his bereaved eyes, and yet may watch the rainbow ribbons run athwart the gravity of grey and dun. He holds the darkness dearer for the prize wherein his only pledge of radiance lies when he the vast magnificence must shun. So we who play with rainbows, having seen the sun's own face, we may not hold the west, which burns against the bosom of the night, but in the afterglow, with eyes serene, we still may find, dear heart, the sun's bequest, an echoed glory of our passionate light. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Maternity by Alice Meynell. Read for LibriVox.org by mleigh. One wept whose only child was dead, newborn 10 years ago. Weep not, he is in bliss, they said. She answered, even so. 10 years ago was born in pain, a child not now forlorn. But oh, 10 years ago, in vain, a mother was born. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
A Midsummer Song by Richard Watson Glider. Read for LibriVox.org by Sherr. Oh, father's gone to market town. He was up before the day. And Jamie's after robins. And the man is making hay. And, whistling down the hollow, goes the boy that minds the mill. while mother from the kitchen door is calling with a will, "Polly, Polly, the cows are in the corn. Oh, where's Polly?" From all the misty morning air there comes a summer sound, a murmur, as of waters from skies and trees and ground. The birds they sing upon the wing, the pigeons bill and coo, and over hill and hollow rings again the loud halloo, "Polly, Polly, the cows are in the corn. Oh, where's Polly?" Above the trees the honeybees swarm by with buzz and boom, and in the field and garden 1,000 blossoms bloom. Within the farmer's meadow a brown-eyed daisy blows, and down at the edge of the hollow a red and thorny rose. But Polly, Polly, the cows are in the corn. Oh, where's Polly? How strange at such a time of day the mill should stop its clatter. The farmer's wife is listening now, and wonders what's the matter. Oh, wild the birds are singing in the wood and on the hill, while whistling up the hollow goes the boy that minds the mill. But Polly, Polly, the cows are in the corn. Oh, where's Polly? End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
My Country Love by Normal Roland Gale, read for LibriVox.org by DavidH. If you passed her in your city, you would call her badly dressed, with the faded homespun colours, such a heart in such a breast. True, her rosy face is freckled by the sun's abundant flame, but she's mine with all her failings, and I love her just the same. If her hands are red, they grapple to my hands with splendid strength, for she's mine, all mine's the beauty of her straight and lovely length. Her host be think and homely, and her speech is homely too, but she's mine, her rarest charm is, she's for me and not for you. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
My Legacy by Helen Hunt Jackson. Read for LibriVox.org by Larry Wilson. They told me I was heir. I turned in haste and ran to seek my treasure, and wondered as I ran how it was placed, if I should find a measure of gold, or if the titles of fair lands and houses would be laid within my hands. I journeyed many roads, I knocked at gates, I spoke to each wayfarer I met, and said, "A heritage awaits me. Art not thou the bearer of news? Some message sent to me whereby I learn which way my new possessions lie." Some asked me in, naught lay beyond their door. Some smiled and would not tarry, but said that men were just behind, who bore more gold than I could carry. And so the morn, the noon, the day were spent, while empty-handed up and down I went. At last one cried, whose face I could not see, as through the mists he hasted, "Poor child, what evil ones have hindered thee, till this whole day is wasted? Hath no man told thee that thou art joint heir with one named Christ, who waits the goods to share?" The one named Christ I sought for many days, in many places vainly. I heard men name his name in many ways. I saw his temples plainly, but they who named him most gave me no sign to find him by, or proved the heirship of mine. And when at last I stood before his face, I knew him by no token, save subtle air of joy which filled the place. Our greeting was not spoken. In solemn silence I received my share, kneeling before my brother and joint heir. My share! No deed of house or spreading lands, as I had dreamed, no measure heaped up with gold, My elder brother's hands had never held such treasure. Foxes have holes and birds in nests are fed. My brother had not where to lay his head. My Sherr, the right like him to know all pain which hearts are made for knowing, the right to find in loss the surest gain, to reap my joy from sowing in bitter tears, the right with him to keep a watch by day and night with all who weep. My Sherr, today men call it grief and death, I see the joy and life tomorrow. I thank our Father with my every breath for this sweet legacy of sorrow, and through my tears I call to each, joint heir with Christ, make haste to ask him for thy share. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Ode on a Grecian Urn by John Keats. Recorded for LibriVox by Bartholomew Begley, Dublin, July 21st, 2024. Thou still unravished bride of quietness, thou foster child of silence and slow time, sylvan historian, who canst thus express a flowery tale more sweetly than our rhyme, what leaf-fringed legend haunts about thy shape? Of deities or mortals or of both, in Tempe or the dales of Arcady? What men or gods are these? What maidens loath? What mad pursuit? What struggle to escape? What pipes and timbrels? What wild ecstasy? Heard melodies are sweet, but those unheard are sweeter. Therefore, ye soft pipes, play on, not to the sensual ear, but more endeared, pipe to the spirit, ditties of no tone. Fair youth beneath the trees, thou canst not leave thy song, nor ever can those trees be bare. Young lover, never, never canst thou kiss, though winning near the goal, yet do not grieve, she cannot fade. Though thou hast not thy bliss, forever wilt thou love, and she be fair. O happy, happy boughs, that cannot shed your leaves, nor ever bid the spring adieu, and happy melodist unwearied, forever piping songs forever new. More happy love, more happy, happy love, forever warm and still to be enjoyed, forever panting and forever young, all breathing human passion far above, that leaves a heart high sorrowful and cloyed, a burning forehead and a parching tongue. Who are these coming to the sacrifice? To what green altar, O mysterious priest, leadst thou that heifer lowing at the skies, and all her silken flanks with garlands dressed? What little town, by river or sea shore, or mountain built with peaceful citadel, is emptied of its folk this pious morn? And, little town, thy streets forevermore will silent be, and not a soul to tell why thou art desolate can e'er return. O Attic shape, fair attitude, with breed of marble men and maidens overwrought, with forest branches and the trodden weed, thou, silent form, dost tease us out of thought, as doth eternity, cold pastoral. When old age shall this generation waste, thou shalt remain in midst of other woe than ours, a friend to man, to whom thou sayest, beauty is truth, truth beauty. That is all ye know on earth, and all ye need to know. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
On a Circle by Jonathan Swift. Read for LibriVox.org by Roger Smith. On a circle. I'm up and down and round about, yet all the world can't find me out. Though hundreds have employed their leisure, they never yet could find my measure. I'm found almost in every garden, nay, in the compass of a farthing. There's neither chariot, coach, nor mill can move an inch except I will. End of recording. This recording is in the public domain.
On First Looking into Chapman's Homer by John Keats, read for LibriVox.org by Ronald Gardella. Much have I travelled in the realms of gold, and many goodly states and kingdoms seen. Round many western islands have I been, which bards in fealty to Apollo hold. Oft of one wide expanse had I been told that deep-browed Homer ruled as his domain, yet did I never breathe its pure serene, till I heard Chapman speak out loud and bold. Then felt I like some watcher of the skies, when a new planet swims into his ken, or like stout Cortez, when with eagle eyes he stared at the Pacific, and all his men looked at each other with a wild surmise, silent upon a peak in Darien. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
On Snow by Jonathan Swift, read for LibriVox.org by Roger Smith. On Snow. From heaven I fall, though from earth I begin, no lady alive can show such a skin. I'm bright as an angel and light as a feather, but heavy and dark when you squeeze me together. Though candor and truth in my aspect I bear, yet many poor creatures I help to ensnare. Though so much of heaven appears in my make, the foulest impressions I easily take. My parent and I produce one another, the mother the daughter, the daughter the mother. End of recording. This recording is in the public domain.
O pardon me, thou bleeding piece of earth, from Julius Caesar, Act 3, Scene 1, by William Shakespeare. Recorded for LibriVox.org by Bartholomew Begley, Dublin, July 20th, 2024.
O pardon me, thou bleeding piece of earth, that I am meek and gentle with these butchers. Thou art the ruins of the noblest man that ever lived in the tide of times. Woe to the hand that shed this costly blood. O'er thy wounds now do I prophesy, which like dumb mouths do ope their ruby lips to beg the voice and utterance of my tongue. A curse shall light upon the limbs of men. Domestic fury and fierce civil strife shall cumber all the parts of Italy. Blood and destruction shall be so in use, and dreadful objects so familiar, that mothers shall but smile when they behold their infants quartered with the hands of war, all pity choked with custom of fell deed. And Caesar's spirit, ranging for revenge, with Ate by his side come hot from hell, shall in these confines with a monarch's voice cry have at, and let slip the dogs of war, that this foul deed shall smell above the earth with carrion men groaning for burial.
End of piece. This recording is in the public domain.
The Prophet Lost in the Hills at Evening by Hilaire Belloc. Read for LibriVox.org by Larry Wilson. Strong God, which made the topmost stars to circulate and keep their course, remember me, whom all the bars of sense and dreadful fate enforce. Above me in your heights and tall, impassable the summits freeze. Below the haunted waters call, impassable beyond the trees. I hunger and have no bread. My gourd is empty of the wine. Surely the footsteps of the dead are shuffling softly close to mine. It darkens. I have lost the ford. There is a change on all things made. The rocks have evil faces, Lord, and I am awfully afraid. Remember me. The voids of hell expand enormous all around. Strong friend of souls, Emmanuel, redeem me from accursed ground. The long descent of wasted days to these at last have led me down. Remember that I filled with praise the meaningless and doubtful ways that lead to an eternal town. I challenged, and I kept the faith. The bleeding path alone I trod. It darkens. Stand about my wraith and harbor me, Almighty God. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
The Return of August by Percy Mackay. Read for LibriVox.org by Alan Mapstone. Darkly a mortal age has come and gone, and man grown ancient in a single year. August, the summer month, is blasted sere with memories earth bleeds to dream upon. To dream upon, ah, were we dreaming then, ere Europe, blindfold, lulled in holiday, hearkened the sudden thunder through her play, and fumbling held her breath to hark again? Or is this blighted year our dream? How swift the blackening tempest fell! How vast through fire and cloud of Belgium's rape the planet's ire flared on a pall of shame, while through the rift the livid sorrows racked our sympathies. For still thought burned unclouded, right and wrong strove for the palm as in an epic song. And so we poured our succour overseas, neutral in act but never in our souls, yet guarding the brave goal of peace, till soon, slow warping to the waning year's blind moon, the tide ebbed back, and in the freezing shoals we stared upon the dead whose mothers suckled them still in dreams. Stark mad the stench and yellow choke that reeked from shell and trench. They lay together there, mere boys and brothers. Were these the epic hosts of wrong and right, whose clash had whirled us in their spirits' war? These silent boys, what had they battled for, to lie such still bedfellows in the night? Must breath of dying brothers wake the brass that thrills the call to arms? Shall ghostly lips summon the living to the dark eclipse, and all their dearest shout to see them pass, merely for this? That these who might have shared a simple handclasp share a blooded sod? So for a while we gazed and questioned God, a haunted while, for dimly as we stared, far off we heard the multitudinous cry of mangled Poland, like a cry in sleep, and Serbia fever panting, and the deep half-breathed self-doubt of prisoned Germany, and still far tidings blew, but that first spark of August splendour burned in them no more. Pity and sorrow palled, and custom wore a deeper callous and a blur more dark, till sudden the Lusitania, lightning shot the unhallowed message, and a shuddering fire leapt from our long-charred hearts, a glowing spire, and Europe's sword swung nearest to the knot that ties the bonds of peace. And now the summer steals again toward winter's sleep. The reaping time draws near, ah, what to reap! And spring, that lurks beyond, comes hither, how? Still, O my country, while we may, look back. The blighted year cries from the charnel grass. Must breath of dying brothers wake the brass that thrills the call to arms? A blood-seared track leads backward to that other August day, prowled by the still unglutted Minotaur. But we, who watch to slay the beast of war, shall we hunt him or those he mangles? Say, for reason has its ire more just than hate. Imagination has its master hour, and pity its foil, and mother love its power, mightier than bloodlust and more obdurate. My country, poised in forward visioning, with pity, love, and reason let us pray, our lives shall serve to cleanse this August day. The summer wanes, the ploughman comes with spring. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Stopping by the Woods on a Snowy Evening by Robert Frost. Read for LibriVox.org by Yaron Bernstein. Whose woods these are, I think I know. His house is in the village, though. He will not see me stopping here to watch his woods fill up with snow. My little horse must think it queer to stop without a farmhouse near, between the woods and frozen lake, the darkest evening of the year. He gives his harness bells a shake to ask if there is some mistake. The only other sound's the sweep of easy wind and downy flake. The woods are lovely, dark and deep, but I have promises to keep, and miles to go before I sleep, and miles to go before I sleep. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
This Place by J. Thorne Smith, Jr. Read for LibriVox.org by Douglas Wood. This place. Here I kissed her, here we fought. Here we parted, here made up. Here we ate the things we brought, drinking from the self-same cup. Here she made a wreath for me, trimmed with fern and roses red. Here I carved upon the tree, here I chased and here she fled. Here we lay upon the grass, here we planned the unborn years. Here we saw the summer pass, here I laughed away her tears. Here she blossomed, here she grew, here she withered, here she died. Here a world was rent in two, here I cursed my God and cried. Here she lies beneath the mold, here at last in lonesome state. Weary of the world and old, here I think of her and wait. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Thyrsis by Matthew Arnold. Read for LibriVox.org by Yaron Bernstein. Thyrsis, a monody to commemorate the author's friend Arthur Hugh Clough, who died at Florence, 1861. How changed is here each spot man makes or fills! In the two Hinksies nothing keeps the same. The village street its haunted mansion lacks, and from the sign is gone Sibylla's name, and from the roofs the twisted chimney stalks. Are ye too changed, ye hills? See, 'tis no foot of unfamiliar men tonight from Oxford up your pathway strays. Here came I often, often in old days. Thyrsis and I, we still had Thyrsis then. Runs it not here the track by Childsworth Farm, past the high wood, to where the elm tree crowns? The hill, behind whose ridge the sunset flames, the signal elm that looks on Ilsley Downs, the vale, the three lone weirs, the youthful Thames. This winter eve is warm, humid the air, leafless yet soft as spring, the tender purple sprays on copse and briars, and that sweet city with her dreaming spires, she needs not June for beauty's heightening. Lovely all times she lies, lovely tonight, only methinks some loss of habit's power befalls me wandering through this upland dim. Once passed I blindfold here at any hour, now seldom come I, since I came with him, that single elm tree bright against the west. I miss it, is it gone? We prized it dearly, while it stood, we said, our friend, the gypsy scholar, was not dead. While the tree lived, he in these fields lived on. Too rare, grow now my visits here, but once I knew each field, each flower, each stick, and with the country folk acquaintance made, by barn and threshing time, by new-built rick. Here, too, our shepherd pipes we first essayed. Ah me, this many a year, my pipe is lost, my shepherd's holiday. Needs must I lose them, needs with heavy heart, into the woods and wave of men depart. But Fiercest of his own will went away. It irked him to be here, he could not rest. He loved each simple joy the country yields. He loved his mates, but yet he could not keep, for that a shadow lowered on the fields, here with the shepherds and the silly sheep. Some life of men unblessed he knew, which made him droop and filled his head. He went, his piping took a troubled sound of storms that rage outside our happy ground. He could not wait their passing, he is dead. So some tempestuous morn in early June, when the year's primal burst of bloom is o'er, before the roses and the longest day, when garden walks and all the grassy floor with blossoms red and white of fallen May and chestnut flowers are strewn, so have I heard the cuckoo's parting cry from the wet field through the vexed garden trees. Come with the volleying rain and tossing breeze, the bloom is gone, and with the bloom go I. Too quick despairer, wherefore wilt thou go? Soon will the high midsummer pomps come on, soon will the musk carnations break and swell, soon shall we have gold-dusted snapdragon, sweet William with his homely cottage smell, and stocks in fragrant blow, roses that down the alleys shine afar, and open jasmine-muffled lattices, and groups under the dreaming garden trees, and the full moon, and the white evening star. He hearkens not, light comer, he is flown. What matters it? Next year he will return, and we shall have him in the sweet spring days, with whitening hedges and uncrumpled fern, and bluebells trembling by the forest ways, and scent of hay new mown. But Thyrsis nevermore we swains shall see him come back, and cut a smoother reed, and blow a strain the world at last shall heed, for time, not Corydon, hath conquered thee. Alack, for Corydon no rival now, but when Sicilian shepherds lost a mate, some good survivor with his flute would go, piping a ditty, sad for Bion's fate, and cross the unpermitted ferry's flow, and relax Pluto's brow, and make leap up with joy the beauteous head of Proserpine, among whose crowned hair are flowers first opened on Sicilian air, and flute his friend like Orpheus from the dead, O easy access to the hero's grace. When Dorian shepherds sang to Proserpine, for she herself had trod Sicilian fields, she knew the Dorian waters gush divine, she knew each lily white which Enna yields, each rose with blushing face. She loved the Dorian pipe, the Dorian strain, but ah, of our poor Thames she never heard. Her foot the Cumnor cowslips never stirred, and we should tease her with our plaint in vain. Well, wind dispersed, and vain the words will be, yet, Thyrsis, let me give my grief its hour, in the old haunts, and find our tree-topped hill, who, if not I, for questing here hath power? I know the wood which hides the daffodil, I know the Fifield tree, I know what white, what purple fritillaries the grassy harvest of the river fields above the Ensham down by Sandford yields, and what sedged brooks are Thames's tributaries. I know these slopes, who knows them if not I, but many a dingle on the loved hillside, with thorns once studded old white-blossomed trees, where thick the cowslips grew and far descried, high-towered the spikes of purple orchises, hath since our day put by the coronals of that forgotten time, down each green bank hath gone the ploughboy's team, and only in the hidden brookside gleam primroses, orphans of the flowery prime. Where is the girl who by the boatman's door, above the locks, above the boating throng, unmoored our skiff, when through the Wypham flats, red loosestrife and blonde meadow sweet among, and darting swallows and light water gnats, we tracked the shy Thames shore? Where are the mowers who, as the tiny swell of our boat passing heaved the river grass, stood with suspended scythe to see us pass? They all are gone, and thou art gone as well. Yes, thou art gone, and round me too the night in ever-nearing circle weaves her shade. I see her veil draw soft across the day. I feel her slowly chilling breath invade the cheek grown thin, the brown hair sprent with grey. I feel her finger light laid pausefully upon life's headlong train, the foot less prompt to meet the morning dew, the heart less bounding at emotion new, and hope, once crushed, less quick to spring again. And long the way appears which seemed too short to the less practised eye of sanguine youth, and high the mountain tops and cloudy air, the mountain tops, where is the throne of truth? Tops in life's morning sun so bright and bare, unbreachable the fort of the long battered world uplifts its wall, and strange and vain the earthly turmoil grows, and near and real the charm of thy repose, and night as welcome as a friend would fall. But hush! The upland hath a sudden loss of quiet. Look, adown the dusk hillside, a troop of Oxford hunters going home, as in old days, jovial and talking ride. From hunting with the Berkshire hounds they come. Quick, let me fly and cross into yon farther afield. 'Tis done, and see, backed by the sunset, which doth glorify the orange and pale violet evening sky, bear on its lonely ridge the tree! The tree! I take the omen. Eve lets down her veil, the white fog creeps from bush to bush about, the west unflushes, the high stars grow bright, and in the scattered farms the lights come out. I cannot reach the signal tree tonight, yet happy omen hail. Hear it from thy broad lucent Arno vale, for there thine earth-forgetting eyelids keep the morningless and unawakening sleep under the flowery oleanders pale. Hear it, O Thyrsis, still our tree is there. Ah, vain these English fields, this upland dim, these brambles pale with mist engarlanded, that lone sky-pointing tree are not for him. To a boon southern country he is fled, and now, in happier air, wandering with the great mother's train divine, and purer or more subtle soul than thee, I trow the mighty mother doth not see, within a folding of the Apennine. Thou hear'st the immortal chants of old, putting his sickle to the perilous grain in the hot cornfield of the Phrygian king. For thee the Lityerses song again. Young Daphnis with his silver voice doth sing, sings his Sicilian fold, his sheep, his hapless love, his blinded eyes. And now a call celestial round him rang, and heavenward from the fountain brink he sprang, and all the marvel of the golden skies. There thou art gone, and me thou leavest here, sold in these fields. Yet I will not despair. Despair I will not, while I yet descry, 'neath the mild canopy of English air, that lonely tree against the western sky. Still these slopes, 'tis clear, our gypsy scholar haunts, outliving thee. Fields where soft sheep from cages pull the hay, woods with anemones in flower till May, know him a wanderer still, then why not me? A fugitive and gracious light he seeks, shy to illuminate, and I seek it too. This does not come with houses or with gold, with place, with honor, and a flattering crew. 'Tis not in the world's market bought and sold, but the smooth slipping weeks drop by, and leave its seeker still untired. Out of the heed of mortals he is gone. He wends unfollowed, he must house alone, yet on he fares, by his own heart inspired. Thou too, O Thyrsis, on like quest wast bound. Thou wanderedst with me for a little hour. Men gave thee nothing but this happy quest. If men esteemed thee feeble, gave thee power. If men procured thee trouble, gave thee rest. And this rude Cumnor ground, its fir-top hearst, its farms, its quiet fields, here camest thou in thy jocund youthful time. Here was thine height of strength, thy golden prime, and still the haunt beloved of virtue yields. What though the music of thy rustic flute kept not for long its happy country tone, lost it too soon, and learnt a stormy note of men contention tossed, of men who groan, which tasked thy pipe too sore, and tired thy throat. It failed, and thou wast mute. Yet hadst thou alway visions of our light, and long with men of care thou couldst not stay, and soon thy foot resumed its wandering way, left human haunt, and on alone till night. Too rare grow now my visits here. Mid-city noise, not as with thee of yore, Thyrsis, in reach of sheep bells is my home. Then through the great town's harsh, heart-wearying roar, let in thy voice a whisper often come, to chase fatigue and fear. Why faintest thou? I wandered till I died. Roam on! The light we sought is shining still. Dost thou ask proof? Our tree yet crowns the hill. Our scholar travels yet the loved hillside. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
To General von Stille, who asked for a poem on the King, Frederick II, by Johann Wilhelm Ludwig Gleim, read for LibriVox.org by Newgatenovelist. Upon that genius, our King, whose praise with one accord all nations sing, whom all would fain possess as king to rule their state, whom every monarch ought to imitate, a hero, poet, a philosopher, and then, in all his realm, the best of men, who merits every praise that man on him bestows. A song of praise did I compose. Great King, I sang, nor did proceed. He loves not German verse to read. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain. To Lucan by Johann Wilhelm Ludwig Gleim, read for LibriVox.org by Newgatenovelist. Oh, gather roses while they blow, tomorrow's not today. Let not one moment vainly flow, time fleeth fast away. Fill up the goblet, kiss the fair, for fortune smiles today. Where shalt thou be tomorrow? Where? Time fleeth fast away. He who defers a noble deed too oft repents delay. Live while thou canst, such is my creed. Time fleeth fast away. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
The Unknown God by George William Russell. Read for LibriVox.org by Algy. Far up the dim twilight fluttered moth wings of vapour and flame. The lights danced over the mountains, star after star they came. The lights grew thicker unheeded, for silent and still were we. Our hearts were drunk with a beauty our eyes could never see. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Verses by Stella by Jonathan Swift. Read for LibriVox.org by Roger Smith. Verses by Stella. If it be true, celestial powers, that you have formed me fair, and yet in all my vainest hours my mind has been my care, then in return I beg this grace, as you were ever kind, what envious time takes from my face, bestow upon my mind. End of recording. This recording is in the public domain.
The Wanderer by Zoe Akins. Read for LibriVox.org by mleigh. The ships are lying in the bay. The gulls are swinging round their spars. My soul, as eagerly as they, desires the margin of the stars. So much do I love wandering, so much I love the sea and sky, that it will be a piteous thing in one small grave to lie. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Sonnet 19, When I Consider How My Life is Spent, by John Milton. Read for LibriVox.org by Bartholomew Begley. Dublin, July 14th, 2024. When I consider how my light is spent ere half my days in this dark world and wide, and that one talent which is death to hide lodged within me useless, though my soul more bent to serve there with my Maker and present my true account, lest he returning chide. Doth God exact day labour light denied, I fondly ask? But patience, to prevent that murmur, soon replies, God doth not need either man's work or his own gifts. Who best bear his mild yoke, they serve him best. His state is kingly. Thousands at his bidding speed and post o'er land and ocean without rest. They also serve who only stand and wait. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.